Hey people, how you doing? Broken Puppet, welcome back to Drawing Tutorials. If you're new to my channel, make sure you click subscribe. And if you can, make sure you give this video a like during the video, and that really helps these videos out. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to draw a really nice classic, vintage, old school, sort of Native American kind of face. It's going to be a female kind of version with a headdress. It's just a very, classic, old school kind of version of a tattoo. You know, it's really nice, it's really pretty. Pretty, yeah. But here we go, people. So we're going to start off with, in the face, we're going to start off with this basic box shape. So I'm going to bring up line here, rough line there, a rough line there. Now, don't worry about being perfect, you know, it hasn't got to be perfect as long as you kind of got it roughly where it needs to be. You know, I'm drawing this a bit of an angle because I want the face to be at a bit of an angle. You know, I don't have it facing dead straight. So really easy, I'm just going to divide this into 4. So just go down the center points just like that. Real simple. So you've got this nice grid, and this grid is going to be really perfect for kind of building off the face from. So I'm going to start off with the front part of the face. So if you're bringing this line, coming here, cutting into this box. So you want to kind of clip out this corner, so get rid of that. So it's going to come down, and once it gets to about here, we're going to dip this in here. Now before we get to the halfway line, I'm going to bring this, and this point here, you're going to bring this nose, this line's going to cut through this. It's going to come lower than this. I'm going to bring this in here. Once you have this line, if you sort of bring a diagonal line coming down from like this, it kind of gives an idea of where you're going to put everything. So off this tip of this nose, just here, I'm going to create this nice curve like this. That's roughly about halfway through the box. It's going to create your top upper lip. This is going to curve back like so. And it's going to get like a nice kind of smiley face. It's going to come to a bit of a kind of like high edge as we get towards the back. Going to bring this up, just curl that around. On the bottom part here, a little bit further in from the top lip. I'm going to create this and make sure it's nice and curved. You want to get like a nice sort of big sort of circular kind of curve to this bottom lip. I'm going to cut in from that lip and then create a bit of a sharp kind of sort of point out. So you want this like nice little V shape. And this is going to curve down to this chin. Once we get to this chin, we're going to bring this out. I'm going to curve up like this. So we're cutting into this box, but going quite far into the second box, like so. So we want that kind of shape, you know, so it's coming back further into it. Now if you imagine it in this sort of shape, if you're just doing it like the ear will kind of fit in this kind of location. But we're not going to see the ear in this one because the headdress is going to kind of be over there, so don't worry too much about that. I'm going to come back to this nose part now, so I'm going to bring this little curve, just coming in from here, dipping down and curving around. Just real basic, it's going to create a really nice nostril. From this top part here, where we've done this little sort of V shape at the top, I'm going to bring this line back. Coming back to the center point, so sort of line coming back from there. If you're cutting from the top part of this nostril, just kind of curve round, like so, until you kind of match up into that line, just like that. And from that point as well, kind of parallel with the nose, the line of the nose, just bring another line, just back like so. It's very important because one of the hardest parts about this is getting the eye in the right place. This really helps you get the eye exactly where you want it to be. So once you've got that done, you're going to come here, and then where this line kind of meets up, you're going to bring this straight line down, and then this kind of shape here is where your eye is going to be. We're going to bring a line, and now you want to cut quite a bit of this eye off. You want quite a bit of eyelid on top. You don't want it to be pure eye because it just looks like really wide eyed, just way too much. So I'm going to bring this line, cutting about halfway through to that point. Once we get to the tip, I'm going to create this little kind of flick just off, another little flick, just create a bit of an eyelash rather. And do a little circle in there. You're going to see more when we do the pen detail. But just so you get an idea of where it kind of goes. Just coming off this top part, it's going to curve down, just going to create that top part of the eyelid. As you get to the back, you want to create a bit of a curve. You don't want it to be sort of like just start circular, you want to come down and have a nice kind of curve. It just keeps it nice and feminine, just like that. Now the eyebrow, if you come back from that line, just up here, that corner bit we've done, that little V shape, just curve back from that, create a little bit of elevation just between this, and then curve down into that kind of eye shape, like so. I'm going to bring this up like this and curve around there. So you've got this nice eyebrow just curving really nice and pretty around the upper eyelid. Once you've got this done, that's the basic kind of face structure in there. So after you've done this, I'm going to bring in the hair. The hair I want to sort of start from around here. So it's going to come inside this box and it's going to curve around. And I'm going to come fairly close to the eyebrow. You know, like I like to bring the hair very close to the face. You know, you don't want to leave too much of a space, you know, it's really just classic old school. We're going to curve around the eye like so, coming down here, cutting off a fair bit of this sort of, cheek, It's going to curve there, and I'm going to create a secondary curve just on the bottom, a little bit shorter. Make sure this curve kind of comes in a little bit. You know, I don't like things when they kind of sit in the same kind of line. You know, so if I was to draw a straight line down there, I don't want this curve in that same line as that. You know, too much symmetry just kind of goes against it, in my opinion. So I'm going to bring this up now. And now this top part of this headdress, going to bring here and make sure it's outside. So where you've got this headline here, make sure this headdress starts from outside this. You know, because it's going to sit on top of the hair, so it makes sense for it to start outside that. If it's on this line, it's going to look way too flat, and it's going to look like she's kind of like bald or something on top, and it's not going to look right. So I'm going to bring this line coming back like this. And where we've got this shape here where the ear would be, I'm going to have this nice circle. It's basically create like a bit of an emblem that the headdress is going to sit off of. If you're still like an old school gypsy girl, it's a very similar kind of layout. You know, you'd have this, and then the bandana would start from this point. The old school, like, you know, sort of structuring is very similar for a lot of different, you know, a lot of things. You know, it's when you know one, you can kind of sort of draw a few things from it. So a little bit of space. I'm going to bring that line coming down, kind of parallel to this line. And that's going to bring up another little line just here, just mimicking that one. Another little one just here, mimicking that one. Up this top, I'm going to create these little semicircle shapes, just repeating about the same size the whole way across there. And what I'm going to do, every time I've got two of these, I'm going to go two, and I'm going to get these little flick lines just like this, just curving around in a circular shape around the two. So 1, 2, looking around, and as it goes here, it's going to go disappear behind the next one. So you should better fit about 4 in here. Now, if you're doing about the right size, you get about 4. I mean, you can sort of go a 5th one around that, but I prefer to kind of end it on that top part. Now around this, I'm going to bring this line, and I'm going to create this kind of wavy line that's just kind of fit just around the shape of this. Don't worry about getting this all perfect, you know, like it's one of those ones where the less perfect it is, sometimes the better. Come around the bottom here, I'm going to create another little wavy line just coming off of this, coming straight, a bit like an old-fashioned kind of rose petal. I'm going to have some lines flicking down from that bit just there. Another little circle just inside that circle, just to finish off the emblem. So you see you've got this nice kind of headdress starting now. And it's building up, and once you get this here, you know, you can build up this line, kind of coming up from where we've done this line here. Coming off like so. And then we kind of loop this around like this. And then when we have this emblem just here, bring a line. So you want this kind of arch shape, this kind of sort of fan shape like this. And that's where the feathers are going to go. They're going to go along this kind of part. I like to make the bottom feather down here, the one that kind of sits in front. So I do this one first, and then the other one's kind of behind it. Real simple, we're going to bring a curve like this, and then a curve going back the other way. And we're just going to keep building these up like this. And I like to be a bit of an angle. I don't want to sort of, you know, bring it round so it's like they're just sort of straight poking out of it. So it's a bit kind of slanted when it kind of gets to the top. And just keep them going until you kind of fill up that sort of shape around there. So see, that's built up really nicely now, I really like that. And if we come down here from this mouth, I'm going to bring this curved line just here, coming down. And that's going to sort of tell us roughly where we want the neck. So the neck's going to sit in this kind of location just here. Now where this hair comes down, I'm going to have a few loops. I'm going to bring this loop across like this. I'm going to bring the next one across. And each time I do this, I'm going to go a little bit further than the last one. So it's going to loop around, come there, loop around there. I want to come down fairly straight. And once it gets to about here, I'm going to create this sort of oval shape. And this is going to go into like the bottom part of the hair. So you have this kind of sort of shape at the bottom. Bring it up a touch. Let me just zoom it out a touch for you guys. Just so you can see that nice and clearly. There we go. So yeah, so that sort of sits there. So it's basically like a sort of hair coming down. Off the neck in this area, I'm going to bring this curved line. It's going to start off as sort of like, you know, sort of dress part around her neck coming down. So I'm going to bring this coming down like this. And once I get to here, I'm going to create this kind of curve, and it's going to create this nice kind of looping curve coming back. From now, I'm going to create a little line just kind of mimicking that. A line mimicking this one. Just like so. Some little loops just around this bottom part. And then on the very bottom, I'm going to do these straight lines coming down, repeating off of this. And that's the basic structure for doing the face. So now we've got that, we're going to come in and going to sort of pen it in now. So if I can find me Sharpie. So I'm going to use a Sharpie for most of this, Just a classic sort of Sharpie, nothing crazy. And then I'm going to come in with a Unipin fine liner. It's just basically a bit of a smaller tip, you know, just for doing like a couple little fine detail bits if we need it. You know, but most of it I'm just going to use this. You know, I want like a nice big bold outline for this. So yeah, most of it is going to be done with this. So here we go. So just going to keep bringing this all in. Just kind of everything we just done. You know, any adjustments you want to make, now's the time to make them. Because once you've got this pen work in there, you're obviously not going to be able to go back. So this is why we sort of do the sketch work. The sketch work really just kind of helps us get everything exactly kind of where we want it before we do this. So when this top eyelid just did a bit quite thick. Just put on one. Go around down. I'm going to get this little circle bit just the inside, just for the pupil, just like that. Now you can use different materials for this. Sharpie's just a ready, like, easy thing to kind of get your hands on. You know, you can buy them everywhere. And they are a very good tool. I like using them. You know, I don't see nothing wrong with a Sharpie. So bring this line up here, bring that line around, just like so. If you're actually not too sure about getting just right, like any sort of circles, you know, you can always use like a compass or something like that. You know, there's nothing wrong with using that sort of stuff. And the paper I'm using for this is Bristol board. If you're using like kind of like printer paper, a Sharpie and stuff will probably basically just eat it up, you know. So I wouldn't really recommend using that. You know, get yourself some decent papers worth the investment. It's not overly expensive. You know, it's always worth doing. You can get it everywhere. It's got on Amazon or something. You know, just type in Bristol board. You know, it's really good, especially like drawing with markers and stuff. You know, I love doing it. Everyone's got their own personal preference, but this is mine. You know, I love Bristol board. If you're doing it with paints, you know, you might want to get some maybe like watercolor paper or something. If you're using watercolors, that is. You don't want to go using like acrylics or oils on water paper. It just won't have the same effect. You know, old school does look very, very good, but like watercolor, you know, like pen and ink stuff. You know, I might do a few tutorials on that as well, just kind of show you guys how it's sort of done. You know, but like markers, I've always drawn the markers. You know, they're just really easy, just everything's suitable. It's just convenient. You know, it's just a very, very convenient medium. So I said, when you've got this hair just here, you're going to keep bringing it in, and just each time you do a curve, just bring it a little bit further than the line before, right around, touch it, curve around, and it's just a really easy way of doing a plait. Just like so. It's a nice little oval shape just here. Bottom part of that hair just there. Bringing this top she's wearing. Now you can vary this up and that, but you just want to make sure it's like nice and patterned. You know, typical sort of Native American sort of stuff. You know, like a lot of sort of triangles and geometric kind of sort of shapes is really good. If you're not too sure, you can always like Google it. You know, look up Native American sort of patterns. You know, it's a beautiful culture. It's a beautiful, lot of this sort of really nice, beautiful designs and stuff involved in it. You know, if you get a chance, I highly recommend looking into it, you know. Now, I mean, I know the old school tattoo like this is a bit kind of stereotypical, you know, but, you know, definitely look into it, you know. I love Native American culture. I know this isn't exactly Native American culture, you know, this is more American, like old school Americana sort of thing, but I don't know, I just think anything that kind of helps kind of raise awareness of sort of culture is always a good thing, you know. If it's like, as long as it's not offensive, you know, as long as you're not sort of drawing it like stupid, like crazy. You know, if you just sort of draw this like really sort of sexual or something, then you'd be really kind of bang out of order. But You know, as long as you ain't doing that, nothing wrong with it. I think a lot of people kind of sort of take stuff the wrong way sometimes. They get the wrong idea about it. You know, it's, you've got to remember that. If you're not raising awareness about culture, it's very easy for people to forget about cultures and they sort of disappear. And that's, I think that's the worst thing with culture. It's the last thing you don't want. So I'm going to bring in these flicks just here. I'm using a smaller pen for this one. So I'm just flicking those curves around like that. Just keep it about the same distance apart. You know, you can just keep using the Sharpie for this if you want. You know, you don't have to switch up the sizes. It's just because I'm going to be doing a few little details with the smaller one, so I want to kind of carry that for a little bit throughout the design. I don't want it all to be just the same kind of thickness. So a few of these sort of details I'm going to do the smaller one, so I'm going to do the hair. So I'm going to mimic this outside line just here. Just copying it. Bring it around like so. Find somewhere to put this camera. It's really annoying. This camera's kind of like right in my face and it's really awkward to draw around it. I need to find a better angle for it. Let me know if you prefer this angle, if you prefer my old-fashioned angle where it's like above. And I got a pretty good response for the last one of this angle, so this is what you prefer, let me know and I will just keep doing this angle. If you prefer the old angle, let me know. So down here, when I do this kind of curve bit, I'm going to follow the shape, I'm going to curve it off to the back of each plait. So just here, going towards the back. Rather than curving it off to the top, I think it just kind of gives a better shape to it. Just keep that motion going for it, just like so. Put them here. Now make sure you take your time on this as well, you know, it's not a rush. Now I'm going a bit faster than I probably should do. Just kind of force a habit really. I tend to draw pretty quick. But when I've got a camera in my face and it's kind of like making me not quite as accurate as I normally am, I probably should go a little bit slower. So come here to this eye. I want to create this nice kind of sort of like front eyelash. I'm going to get to this bottom bit here. I just want to kind of like bring this to a nice point. I don't normally do this for roll squat. I normally kind of leave the lines kind of flat, but I'm going to try something a bit different today with this. So I'm going to make these points come to points. If that makes sense. A little highlight just in that eye. Sketching that upper lip just there, like so. And then, yeah, I'm going to go back to the Sharpie now for a few little bits, and then I come in and do a few more little lines. But I come up here, just across this part, just going to mimic the shape, just leaving a little space, gap, just there, and I'm going to do the same thing across the top. Just bring that line across there, and then in between this, just bring in little sort of triangle shapes. So it's basically a zigzag pattern just throughout it. You know, you can have it sort of wider as well if you sort of leave a big gap, leave big sort of triangles. That's also very typical of the Native American sort of style. I'm going to bring in these like long V shapes. Just make sure you leave a little gap in between it, because I want a little bit of colour just in each one of these. So it doesn't have to sort of show the whole way through. Just a little bit at the bottom does the trick. Just like so. Once we've got that, what's it going to do? Oh yeah, it's going to do the V-shape pattern again, kind of repeat through here. It's going to bring a bit of similarity between the top and the bottom. And then come down with a fine liner pen, and just in between that little V-shape, I'm going to bring another little V-shape just to the bottom with the fine liner. Don't know if I fit that in these ones, but I'm going to give it a go. If I was tattooing this, I wouldn't worry about doing this because it'd be such a small little detail in this bit, but drawing on paper, you kind of get the option to do that. I like to do it. This little bottom bit down here, I'm just doing these little dots. just throughout this little space shape we have here. I might do that for this top part just here as well. So I can across the top and bottom to this part of the dress. I really like that. So you've got this like really nice structure to it now. So we're going to got this. I'm going to bring my rubber. Depending on what paper and pen you use, you might want to give it a bit of chance just to dry. Sharpie Sand dries pretty quick, so does my Unipin fine liners, especially on this paper, so I can sort of rub it out straight away. If you don't, you might find you end up sort of smudging your work, so give it a little test though, you know, just draw, you know, pen down, and every sort of, let's say 5-10 seconds, just give it a bit of rub and just see how long it takes to dry. You know, and once you sort of know, just leave it for that space of time so it has enough time to dry. You know, the last thing you want to do is ruin your work by doing that. So now we've got that done, I'm going to grab me colouring in markers. I'm going to use Pro Marker for this one, but most of it I'm going to be using, actually I'm just going to use all the brush markers. It's my favourite ones to use. I favourite brush markers. Copics are really good. Chameleon pens, anything that's kind of alcohol based is fine. Just want to make sure it's got a brush tip. If it hasn't got a brush tip, you're going to have a nightmare of a time trying to blend it out. You know, brush tip, very, very important. So I'm going to bold in a few areas I just want pitch black to begin with. So these parts of the back, just here, just going to bold these in. You know, in my opinion, it's very important to have at least some sort of section that is pure black. You know, make sure you use plenty of black shading in it. You know, black's very, very, very important for old school sort of designs. You know, it's probably the most important colour. You know, if you see old sort of fashion traditional ones, black is very heavily used. You know, and if you're going way too light with your shading, you might not necessarily achieve the right sort of look for the style. You know, there are exceptions, but yeah, don't be afraid to go bold with black. You know, when it comes to old school stuff, you know, black is definitely a friendly colour to use. So yeah, it's got black across these bits here, so you can see it just kind of gives it a base to come off like that. I might sort of black in this centre part just here. So it just kind of creates a bit of sort of dark sort of spacing. And I'm going to go black in the hair now, but I'm going to sort of divide this hair up and sort of use my shades. So I'm going to go black here, this outside part here. And then when it dips in, I'm going to have black again, just here. Just going to put in that, then I'm going to come in with my shades. I'm going to use my warm tones for this one, for a change. So I'm going to get the darker one, I'm just going to work over that edge. Just go over it a couple of times so it starts to blend, and then slowly just keep going down between them. You know, if you're using like bottom markers, you'll see at the top and it has like the codes, like this one's a WG3. I just use WG4, which is a darker one. And obviously the lower the number it goes, the lighter it gets, so just work through until you've used them all. WG1 there. Oh, WG2's got one. Oh, there it is. You know, you generally find you have two variations. You have the warm and the cold. You know, I usually use the cold, so I'm just using the warm for a change. You basically find the warm just got a bit more of a warm hue, and the cold one's got a slight bit more of like a slight faint blue hue to it. You know, there's not a massive difference between them. And you can leave a highlight there where it comes to an exact white line if you want, or you can bring it further across. I've done that one first because I'm going to do the other one and show you now. So I'm going to bring in a darker shade, come across, getting this one coming across, and I'm going to go skip down to number 2 probably, so I can blend it for number 2. And I'm going to come the whole way across there. So see, you can leave a little white shine if you want, you know, that's how it looks for that. If you don't, you can leave that. You can bring back black closer as well if you want. I'm quite happy with that look, so I'm going to go over there and just make the top part so it matches. You know, sometimes it's nice to have the pure shine, sometimes I prefer it not to have it. It's one of those ones that looks good both ways, so just play around with it until you sort of do it the way you like it to look. I'm going to do the same kind of principle for all the black hair. So I'm going to come black from the outside, a bit black from the inside, and just each time just leaving a little highlight in each section. So just do these 2 parts here, just go over those, just blend those out, and come down to the lower one. Oop. Don't leave it too long, so I'm going to quickly do this bit up here before it dries. If your marker's dry before you go over it, you can have a bit of a nightmare over time trying to blend it out, so you want to act fairly quick with the markers. You don't really want to waste too much time. And remember, when the marker's dry, they will go lighter. So sometimes you want to kind of bring your shading across a little bit further than you think. You know, but if you're not too sure, just kind of let it dry, have a look, and you kind of get the gist of like how sort of dark or light it's going to heal up. Well, heal up, it's not going to heal up, dry up. Sorry, tattooist using tattoo terminology there. We use the word heal a lot more than we do dry. Because obviously your tattoos heal up, don't dry up. So get that coming down there. It's going to get black in this back part just here. So again, just across that bottom part, across the back. Across this bottom section just there. And again, just whip this just in here. Generally, if I use my warm grey in one part, I'll generally use that throughout the whole design. You know, I usually tend to stick to either cold or hot. You know, I don't tend to mix them. There's no real right or wrong with them. Just use which one you prefer. And see, I got this sort of stage. I'm looking at, I kind of want to bring this black over a little bit more, so just going to branch that black over just a touch bit more, just there. Just come in with that darker one. Just a bit there. I think that'll do a trick for me. Yeah, prefer that. Now, sometimes you use a little bit more than that, like I said, you know, it's a very common thing to have a lot of black in it, so don't be afraid to use it. I'm gonna have some black here, basically coming in between those sort of V shapes we've done. So I don't want to lose that colour that's inside them. You know, it's gonna make a nice kind of effect where that's bold against the black. You know, it's very important to kind of use that, you know, sort of bold, sort of strong, kind of lighter colours against the black sometimes. So because this section is going to fade out to nothing, I'm going to come in and just each bit just kind of go over through all my shades this time. Then when you put in your last shade, you're going to notice that it's going to mark the paper a little bit, but as it dries, it's going to go much lighter, and it will generally fade to nothing when you get down to like the very last shade of the marker. You know, so don't kind of be afraid of it. Just the wrong one. WG3. Just keep it going like this, down to number 2. And once you kind of get past the line, I like to sort of like bring it together like this. You know, I like to have this kind of like nice, kind of even kind of line on the shading as it goes around these kind of areas. So as long as you're not kind of losing detail going over a section, I prefer to bring it out like this. Now, if you're worried about blending out your Sharpie, you know, you can always go over it afterwards, or you can just put all your shading once your pen work's in there, and then use your Sharpie at the end. But it just makes it easier for me showing you guys like this. You know, I prefer to do it this way. As I said, it just makes it easier to show you guys what I'm doing. So now we've got this headdress bit here done. I'm going to come down to a bit in the face, and then maybe a little bit just on this neck area, and then we'll start with the colour. I want a little bit of shadow just here, going around like the top part of this eye. A little bit flicking on the bottom, and a little bit, just tiny bit underneath the eye. I don't want too much. The colour's going to do most of the work on this. I just want a little hint of it. It comes to WG2 actually, so I'll blend that a bit quicker. But it's just going to help darken up the skin tone just a touch in that area. You know, like I said, I don't want too much of it, just a little bit does a trick. Okay, I'm going dark enough in my opinion, so when I get another little bit of dark just across the bottom. You know, if it doesn't quite go dark enough, you know, layering it up will make it a little bit darker. So each time, just let it dry. You know, you don't want to go over it too many times because it will eventually cause a little bit of bleeding on the paper. By bleeding, I basically mean that it's kind of like, God, how do you describe bleeding? It's just basically going to ruin your paper. You're going to get this kind of sort of like vein effect coming off your colours. That generally comes from overworking it. It's not the end of the world if you do get it. You know, don't panic. You know, it's not just going to ruin your image. You know, but if you can avoid it, you know, it's best to, you know, because it looks better without it, in my opinion. A little bit of shadow just underneath the nose, a little bit just there, and a little bit just on the corner of the mouth, just there. I'm going to come in with the light tone now. And just go over the edge, just so it blends it out. So I don't want a harsh edge. Especially as we ain't done the colour yet. And it will sort of like stain it a little bit, and I don't want that. So I come down here now. Just want a little bit, just come off this chin. A little bit here, just to kind of sort of show you got a bit of shadow around the neck. A very, very small amount though, don't go crazy. Just there and there. And a bit similar on this bottom section just now. I'm going to go use the black to begin with. So the XB. Just a little bit of that. A little bit on that back. And then just blend out across. You know, if you can go for each one of your shades, you will generally get a bit of blend at the end, but to be honest, 90% of the time I usually skip one or two. You know, I don't feel like it needs it. You know, but yeah, technically to get that better effect, you know, it's worth doing it. But I'm not gonna. Because I'm a rebel. Rebel who refuses to use all the shades. It's got about the most lame rebel ever. Right, okay. So I think that's going to do it for my black and grey shades, so I'm just going to put these away. And I'm going to use my flesh tones to begin with. I'm also going to use some of this brown in the rest of it as well. So I'm just going to use these ones. It's the one that comes with 48 marker set, so you got, see what you've got in here. You got blush, rogue, don't know how you pronounce it. Well, I'm just called blush, sandstone, cinnamon, burnt sienna, dusty pink, and cocoa. So I'm going to start off with cocoa, burnt sienna, cinnamon. I'm going to work my way down it through this sort of stage. So it's going to go in that kind of variation. So burnt sienna, and then you're going to use the cinnamon, sandstone, blush, dusty pink. I think dusty pink's the last one, or is dusty pink one before? No, sorry. Dusty pink's the one that goes before. Let's get those two confused. So yeah, dusty pink into blush. Blush is just a really good one for blending it out. So I'm going to start off with just getting the skin tone. So I'm going to start off on this cheek bit just here. So I'm going to bring this across just like this. Go to the cinnamon. Go to the sandstone. Don't know why I love the transition when it goes to sandstone. Down to the dusty pink. And I like to bring the dusty pink just across it. It just kind of like brings the tone all kind of on the same kind of level. And then going down into your blush tone. And that will basically just kind of fade it out. Let it dry and it will pretty much go to nothing as it gets to the edge. Now we're going to apply that same rough process to a few other little areas. So I'm going to come here to the top of this eye. I'm going to flick this line, just coming down a touch. I'm just going to go down through those shades again. And this is just kind of flicking towards the nose. Not all the way on the nose, just flicking towards it. So to my sandstone. Down to the dusty pink. Down to the blush. And that blush will just kind of flick it out. It kind of goes to next to nothing from there. gonna come in with the sandstone, I think. Just get a little bit just on that nose. Actually, I might go for the cinnamon first, actually. Blend into that, just a tiny bit on that cheek, just there. Just bring this in around the bottom bit. Pretty much just kind of going into the grey bits we've done. Like so. And just work down into your colours. Just make sure you kind of out the greys before you start using the blush. I just generally find that if you use blush in like a grey sort of tone, it just kind of like muddies the colour a bit. You know, it's personal preference, I just don't particularly like it. Just a little bit around that mouth. Just a little bit, just finish off that nose. And lastly, I always like to put just a little bit top part of the forehead, just up here. And just a fraction just here. Just anywhere there's kind of corners I like to kind of bring out, it just kind of makes it look nice. And then just flick it out with a blush tone. Like so. So once you're done that, I'm going to grab me red. I basically just want to get this little red strip just going from the nose and a little bit over the lips, just coming down. So yeah, it's just like a bit of face paint I'm going to do. Nothing crazy. Literally just a little strip just coming across. And a bit of red just in the lips. Just like so. Once I've done the lips, I can sort of decide what kind of colour I want in the rest of the sort of facial areas. I'm kind of looking at the eyebrow and I kind of want to get this nice kind of lilac-y sort of tone, so I'm going to come here, the lilac, just come over there, a little bit just above the eye, just kind of get a bit of tone. That'd do for me. I mean, you can go sort of red in there, I just prefer not to. And now we've got this done, I'm going to start colouring certain areas. I'm going to start off with the reds and just do areas that I know want reds. So basically now I want to get these little circles in here, just doing a little highlight just across the top. Just like so. Just like so. So across those bits there. And then decide if you want to kind of understand it elsewhere, and I do want to kind of bring it in a few areas, so I'm going to bring it across the bottom of these blacks at the top. Just get this nice little red strip just coming across. Just like so. Yeah, in my opinion, after black, the most important colour in old school is red. Now, you definitely want to make sure you got some red in there. It really will just kind of set it apart from the rest of the work. I think that would do it for my red, I think. So now I've got that, I'm going to come down to my next colour that I know I want in certain areas. Just go to the colours you know you want in certain areas, and sort of the rest will kind of come along as you go. So I know a few areas I want yellow. This kind of nice golden yellow. I know I want a strip at the bottom. I know I want a strip just here. I know I want those two strips coming up through the hat. And I know I want this bit at the back just here. Coming up and around. So once I know those areas, I know I then want these little bits just in here. And then I might say just a little section just on the top of these triangles, just there. So now I've got that done, I want to get a green. What's that green I like? That's the one. I quite like this one, it's the forest green. And that's nice. It's just like a little bit kind of dulled down. It looks a bit more of a traditional kind of green than one that's really super bold. You know, your fully ultra sort of traditional tattoos, the greens are usually quite muted. So I don't want to go too strong with it. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to get a little green stripe, I think, just coming up. Inside these bits. I'll bolt those in. Yeah, I like that. I was originally just going to put a strip and do a few colour strips there, but I actually like how that looks with those in bold in that area. And once you got that done, I'm going to come back to that lilac colour I had. Bring a little bit of symmetry with that. Just bring this in this section. It's a very, very dulled down colour, but I don't know, I love it. You know, it might even look a little bit grey on there, but trust me, when you see it in person, it's not. Gonna put gold throughout this section just here. Come back to my red. And I want red in that circle bit here, and I might have red in this section. I feel I might bold that red actually. And then any little spaces you got left, just fill in with your colours. Now you can leave some areas white, you know, white's always a good one. Like these areas just here, I want to leave these areas white. You can add a colour in there if you want, but I like how that looks. And I think that does the trick, people. That is how you draw a neo-traditional, classic old school traditional. Oh, what am I saying here? Not neo-traditional, classic traditional face of a Native American girl with the headdress. You know, I hope you like it, people. You know, I've got many other videos. If you like the pencil drawings, you know, the paints. Oh, pens, sorry, it's been a long day. The pens more than the iPad stuff, let me know. Whichever one you prefer, I'll keep doing. And yeah, kind of go from there, I think. Just before I forget, there's one little bit I have just missed, which I've noticed, which is going to bug me if I don't do that. Just a little grey strip just here. And there's lines underneath. That'll do for me. Yeah, but for now, people, I am the Broken Puppet, and I'll see you next time. Peace.